The video I'm going to show you today for me is a tough one to get through. This is Mayor Brandon Johnson of Chicago, and the reason it's so hard for me to get through is because there's so much gaslighting and there's so many false statements. I just want to stop it like every couple of seconds and just correct this guy. So he's going to come right out and say that it is the radical right wing to blame for all the issues that the inner cities are seeing, especially when it comes to the migrant crisis. It's their faults. It's the radical right conservatives. They're the ones who are the problems. We need to look to blame them for our issues. I'm going to try not to stop this video. I'm going to try to let it play through. I'm going to do my best. Let's go.
You know, what we've seen is a very raggedy form instituted by right-wing extremism. Everyone knows that the right-wing extremism in this country has targeted democratically ran cities. And quite frankly, they've been very intentional about going after democratically ran cities that are led by people of color. And their whole motivation is to create disruption and chaos, because that's what that particular party has been about. Right? This is the same political party that did not want to accept that President Obama was actually an American. It's the same Republican right-wing extremism that stormed the Capitol. It's the same right-wing extremism that refuses to accept the results of the Civil War. It's raggedy. It's disrespectful. It's mean-spirited. It's an unclean spirit, quite frankly. And so I got you. I just want to.
And so you could see there at the end, he's already getting pushback from the audience that's listening to him because they know the things that he's saying is false, that he's also just trying to gaslight different communities. And what's really ridiculous is that some of these inner cities have been controlled by Democrats for 60, 70, 80 years straight. They've had every opportunity to make these cities the golden places of the United States of America, and they've done nothing but run them down, their economies, their housing, their jobs. And instead of saying, you know what, we need to take up the mantle as Democrats. We've been in charge of these cities for decades. It is our fault. Nope. Let's look towards the radical Republicans. It's really their fault because they've been fighting against us this entire time. So let's blame them. They're the reason for our immigration issues that we're having in inner cities. And then he really goes off the rails historically by saying it's the same radical right-wing Republicans who did not want to accept the results of the Civil War. This guy clearly doesn't understand that it was the Democrats in the South who were the slave owners. Abraham Lincoln was a Republican. And even though Democrats want to say, well, things switched, they did not switch because it was still the Democrat South after the Civil War that instituted the Jim Crow era. And it was still the Democrats of the South after the Jim Crow era that instituted the Black Codes. And it was still the Democrats in the South that during the Black Codes instituted the poll tax. And it was still the Democrat leaders that even up until the 20s and the 30s were segregating Washington, D.C. It was the Democrats who created the welfare state and destroyed the heart of the Black communities by splitting up Black families and creating a destructive system within inner cities in the United States of America. It has always been the Democrats who have been the racist ones, and they're still the racist ones. Because ask yourself this question, honestly, if you're a liberal, if you're a Democrat listening to me right now, ask yourself this question and be honest about it. Which party is concerned about the color of people's skins? The Democrats or the Republicans? You know the answer is the Democrats. They're concerned with, well, are you Black? Are you white? Are you brown? Are you Hispanic? All they care about is race. Everything to them is race, 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 because it's always been that way historically. They've always cared about race, and they were the ones who are the racists, and they still are the racists. And it is the conservatives who have been fighting against this. And I'm not saying the conservatives have always done a good job with it. And I'm not saying that they've always made their point clear to the people. But when you start to understand the history of this and the reality of the policies, you start to understand that the inner cities have been destroyed by Democrat policies, that Black communities have been destroyed by Democrat policies, that Black families have been ripped apart in inner cities by Democrat policies, that your jobs are low end, your housing is low end, and Democrats have been in charge of these inner city communities for decades. And it's not their fault, according to the mayor of Chicago. It's the radical Republicans' fault because they just been fighting against us the whole time. And if they just weren't fighting against us, then everything would have been good here. But we couldn't make it good because they were just fighting against us so much. And then he brings up Barack Obama, that the radical Republicans would not accept him as a U.S. citizen. Let me ask you this. During Barack Obama's 8 years as president. At the same time, Democrats were also in charge of these inner cities. Why couldn't they flip things around? Why couldn't they make those cities utopias of the U.S.? You had Democrat leadership at the federal level, your state level, your city, your local level. You had it at every level. It doesn't matter if the radical Republicans were fighting against you. You basically had full reign to do whatever you wanted. Why didn't you get it done? Oh, that's right, because your policies suck and they don't actually work. In fact, they do the opposite of what you say. They completely destroy the inner city communities, and now the black communities are seeing right through these Democrats. And Mayor Brandon Johnson of Chicago, if you voted this guy in, you get what you deserve. You've been voting the Democrats into this city for so long, you get what you deserve, in all honesty. If this is what you've been doing, this is your issue. And if you live in Chicago or these inner city areas, I would highly recommend that you get the heck out, because it seems like these communities just keep voting these people in. But maybe we're going to see a turnaround. Maybe we're going to start to see individuals realize the truth. Wait a second. These people have been in charge forever, and they actually haven't done anything at all. They just keep blaming the other side. Why don't you give the other side a shot and see what different policies could actually do for the inner city communities? Maybe this is a good idea. I know you probably don't agree with this guy. The migrant crisis is the issue of the radical Republicans. The issues in the inner cities is the radical Republicans. These people are nuts. This is projection. This is fallacy. This is lie. But this is what Democrats do. They just lie, lie, and lie. And if they say it enough, the sheep will baa and they'll listen to what they say. But if they can hear the truth, their eyes can be opened up and they can realize, wait, these people are liars. What do you think? Leave your comments below. As always, I'll catch you on the next one.